Hey guys, good morning. How are you? Andy, Sukhu, founder and CEO Y2K Credit Solutions. So I'm shooting some content for you guys. I have a lot of amazing questions that came to our social media. So I'm talking about these questions and answering them for you. So one of the questions, let's get into this video. Actually, it's a very good video. One of the questions was the difference between owning and renting a home, and the myths behind it. Because some people say they can't afford to own. Some people say that if you can rent, you can own. And I'm not here to discourage anyone. I think that everyone should own a home sometime in your lifetime. You should really work towards that. But also, the myth is that if everyone is renting, you can afford to own. That's kind of a two-answer question because it can go both ways, right? So I don't want to answer both ways and discourage anyone. So I'll break it down for you, the difference between renting and owning, and what comes into the two options, and what position that you play when you want to rent or you want to own. So we're gonna go into this video, and I'll try to break it down for you guys. So renting versus owning. A lot of us are renting right now, especially in the New York area and the 5 boroughs. A lot of us are renting, right? So when you rent, and renting, depending if you're renting from a private or a corporation. When I say private, are you renting? Private means someone that has a 2-family home and they're renting one of the floors. They live on one of the floors. So your landlord lives in the same home with you, except on a different floor, right? So our corporation, and this is I'm talking about like TF Cornerstone, these big corporate high-rise buildings that are ran by corporation investors. Their guidelines are different opposed to private. So depending if you're, I'm gonna give you both scenarios also, okay guys? Depending if you're renting from a private person, for one, credit plays a big role in both sides, in both options, private or corporate. However, if you're renting from a private person, they may not look at credit so strenuously. They may say, okay, if you have a 620 credit score, they may take you as a tenant, right? But they'll charge you 3 to 6 months of deposit. So now, if you're renting a home that's $1,800 a month, you got to do 6 months or 3 months deposit. You can do the math, how much money that comes up to, right? Now, if you go to a corporate company, corporate companies require a 700 plus score, and I think 6 times the rent in your income. So a lot higher credit score and a lot more money you have to show it on your W-2. So it may be a little tough to rent from a corporate company, or from one of these high rises, right? Now when you're renting, credit plays a role depending if you're doing private or corporate. But they play a role in both options. However, private is a little more lenient than corporations. Deposit, privately can go 3 to 6 months deposit. Corporate, 3 months deposit, first last security. But you got to make, I think, 7 times the income. That number changes from different corporations, so don't quote me on that. But that's their criteria. Then, when you get into the apartment, you have the maintenance, the landlord covers. So the functionality of your apartment, whether it's private or corporate, the landlord will cover it. If something like a light bulb breaks, you pay for that. Little things like light bulbs, paint, little things that's not functionality of the apartment, you will take care of that. The tenant's responsible for that, right? Except in a corporation, the corporation will repaint your apartment once a year. Private is supposed to do it as well too. Sometimes they don't honor it, you gotta remind them, but they'll do that. Anyway, moving along. So when you're renting, you're paying electric, cable, you have to feed yourself, your family, your phone and your gas bill, right? These are the responsibilities that you gotta pay. And your monthly rent is $1,800. I'm just using this number for argument's sake. $1,800 plus the utilities. So for some people, you might pay, I don't know, maybe let's say with utilities, on the reserve side, you're not spending a lot of running electric all day. Let's say a monthly bill to live in an apartment is $2,200. That's what it costs to rent. Anything breaks in your home, the landlord comes and fixes it. Maintenance, they take care of it. The sink is flooded, they come take care of it. It's clogging, functionality of the apartment, they come and take care of it. You don't have to pay for that. That's covered, right? Let's go over to home now. You're owning a home. So when you own a home, of course, credit plays a big factor because credit determines the interest rate, right? Credit scores determines your interest rate. hoping you read my scribble scratch. Right? So the higher the score is, the lower the interest rate is. Means the lower your payments is. Okay? Remind yourself that and remember that. Higher the score is, lower the interest rate is. And especially now with the market, rates are at record time low, 2.8%, 2.7%. You know, so you have a high credit score, you get into a good deal. Great, right? So now you're owning. You need your credit. Depending if, let's say you're purchasing a home of $400,000 and closing costs. All right. So, one second. I want to add that line there. So now you're owning. Your credit score is high. Let's say you're doing either FHA 3.5, or you can do 5% down, or you can do 20% down. Just so you know, if you do anything under 20% down payment, you have to pay a PMI insurance on your mortgage until the property gains 20% equity in order to get that removed. Right now, I believe some mortgage company let you pay it off up front. I'm not sure. Check that out with your mortgage company or the lender that you're working with. So now you need credit, your deposit, plus you need closing costs. So about average in New York is about 20 grand in closing costs. So now you need your deposit and 20 grand to come to the table. That's a whole lot more than $2,200 a month. And if you're renting, it means you probably don't have the reserves of 6 months worth of savings to convert over here, right? Because you need to have reserves. So, credit, down payment. If you, depending on what you put less than 20, paying PMI, closing home mortgage insurance. Then you need your closing costs to come to the table. So now easily you're at probably, let's say $30,000, $25,000, let's say that, right? Just for argument's sake. Now when you own the home, you need to pay homeowners insurance. So this ties into your mortgage, right? You have to pay homeowners insurance. You didn't have to pay that here. Of course, you got to pay your gas, electric, your cable. You may need home alarm, security, all that. You don't need that. You don't need an alarm here. It's an apartment building, right? Or depending where you live, there's also someone in and out of your place. No one's going to break into your place. However, you still pay gas, still pay electric, still pay cable. Now, this gas, electric, cable, if your credit score is 620 or low, the company has the right to say we want a deposit from you. So now you're paying an additional maybe $200 to get gas in your name because your credit score is bad, or you had a bad relationship with that gas company before. You probably had a prior apartment, you had a bill, you didn't pay it, you moved out, they were accepted the collection. In their system, they blacklist you, right, as a delinquent consumer. So depending on your credit here, you may have paid a deposit. Hopefully if you have a 700 plus credit score, you're not going to pay a deposit here anymore, right? So now you still got to pay these bills, alarm. Then you still got to have reserves. Everyone should have 6 months of reserves in the bank when you're owning a home. No ifs, ands, or but. And credit. Because if something breaks in your home here, whether it be an AC, plumbing, heating, whatever breaks, a lot of things break when you own a home. There's no maintenance company coming to maintain it. You got to pay for this out of your pocket. You got to find somebody to fix it. Unless you're handy, you can fix things around your home. Great, you save yourself money. But if you don't, you have to find someone that can come in, fix your plumbing, your heating, your AC. And if you in New York, we had a couple of days that are 100 degrees. If you're sitting in your home with no AC on a 100-degree day, you know how annoying that's going to be, right? So you have to have reserves to take care of things when it breaks in your home. Now, if you don't have the reserves, or let's say you only have 3 months, or you do have 6 months, you also have credit cards with high credit limit, small with low interest rates. You can pay the cost of, hey, fix my issue, charge my card, pay the bill later. You build points, right? It all ties in together. So again, it's a lot more expensive here than renting. A lot more expensive owning, because a lot more. You're probably end up paying $3,000-$4,000 a month in all your bills. Here you're only paying $2,200, right? So I'm not saying it's not easy to own a home, and I'm not saying everyone shouldn't own a home. Everyone should own a home, especially what's going on in the market now. But you got to make sure you have all your ducks in a row, and you understand what you're getting into. You understand the financial obligations. You understand the long-term commitments. And you got to make sure that you have your reserves, your credit, because those are the biggest thing when owning a home. You got to be able to fix things on your own. All right, guys? So, the myth about owning versus renting, listen, everyone should be owning. And, if you're renting, prepare yourself to own, but make sure you go into the deal knowing these things and not just jumping into a home and doing what everyone is telling you because you see someone else is doing it. Because what they're doing is not going to work for you, what the next person's doing. All right, guys? So I hope this video was helpful. Hope I broke it down for you guys. If you have any questions, click the link in the bio, subscribe to our YouTube channel, leave a message in our DM or social media if you have any other questions about this. We'll be happy to respond to you. All right? Talk to you guys soon.